Welcome to the Man Whore Podcast.
Hey, bros and babes, captains and first mates. This is Billy Persida, and you are listening to the Man Whore Podcast. How you doing, everybody? Welcome back to my show. I'm your host, comedian Billy Persida. And if you are new to the program, and I feel like a few of you are, this is the podcast where on most weeks I like to talk to women I've hooked up with about sex, dating, sexuality, gender, love. However, this week's guest is not one of my former flames. Nope, it is comedian and podcaster Jared Freid, a.k.a. the J-Train. And you'll learn more about him in a bit. He's not just some run-of-the-mill stand-up comedian that I booked. All right, look, his perspective and point of view is very relevant to the topics of conversation we discuss here on the podcast, okay? I promise. I'm going to tell you more about him in a bit, but first I got some show dates, people. Show dates. Yes, tomorrow, Thursday, February 25th, I'm going to be at the Broadway Comedy Club on the 11 p.m. show. And then Sloatsburg, New York, February 26th, okay, I'm over at Characters Bar and Grill. It's just $5 to get in. I'm going to be doing a nice meaty 20-minute set. So if you live in the general area, this is a show to come on out to. Okay? I want to see you there, Rockland County. I'm not inside of you terribly often. All right, then I'm going to be back in New York City, March 15th, Village Lantern, March 22nd, Sylvana in Harlem. Any of those dates, you can go to manwhorepod.com. You can see more details there. This next show, take out your iCals. I'll wait. Take out your iCals. Wherever you live, you can participate in this one. I'm going to be doing a Periscope show live, okay, on March 13th. Let's say roughly 8:30 p.m. Eastern. I'll play around with the time a bit. See, as a stand-up comedian, I write a new joke every single day. Sometimes it's not even that good, but I just got to get a joke out every day just to keep the juices flowing, keep the output rolling, okay? But that's a lot of material to try to work on and get through at open mics and comedy shows. So I thought this might be a fun idea. I'll try this new monthly thing that I call Clearing the Notebook, where I will do a live stand-up in front of, 3, 4, 5, a small living room of people, and for all of you folks on the internet, okay? And you can watch me on the Periscope app. So whether you live in Germany, LA, Texas, wherever, you'll be able to watch your favorite man whore with a heart of gold do some jokes. Okay, so download that Periscope app, then put it in your iCal, March 13th, 8:30 p.m., So that should be a fun time, because look, I don't know the next time I'm going to be in Idaho, all right? I don't foresee it in the near future. So to any Idaho fan whores, this might be your best opportunity to see me do stand-up for a while, okay? And then this is going to be fun. Los Angeles fan whores, right? I'm coming on out to LA April 1st through 9th, and I would like to do a Man Whore Podcast meetup. I think that'd be fun. Get some of you listeners together, hang out at a bar, a bowling alley, get some apps. I don't know, maybe some nachos. Nachos. It's just going to be 9 consecutive cheat days in a row. That's what consecutive means, Billy. You don't have to explain it. So if you live in the greater LA area and you're interested in a meetup, email me, manwhorepod@gmail.com. This is very important. You have to actually email me to let me know you're interested. Don't just sit around waiting to hear about details, because they'll never happen, all right? I need to know that there's enough interest. When I leave town, don't be like, Billy, why didn't you do the meetup group? I really wanted to go. Well, you didn't fucking email. I didn't know you wanted to go. So email me, manwhorepod@gmail.com. If there's enough interest, I'll put something together, okay? It'll be a good time, and spend a couple hours hanging out. Speaking of fun, I'm sure you all remember Tina Horn's amazing episode. And for all my patrons, you may even remember her bonus episode. Well, Tina Horn also has a podcast called Why Are People Into That? And I appeared on it. Episode came out last week. We talked about strangers and stranger play. Y'all know I love me some stranger play from time to time. Yes, talked about the Craigslist and the Reddit and internet meetups and blindfolds and very fun conversation. Very raunchy, kind of sexy. So if you want to hear some more of me with Tina, go check out her podcast, which is a great podcast. I actually listened to it myself. It's called Why Are People Into That? And you can find my episode there. And welcome to all the new people who have found me through that show. I know some of you heard me with Tina and now have come on over to check out the Man Whore. Well, you're in for a treat. Because let me ask y'all a question right this second. I need to know, how early is too early to ask for butt stuff? This is a question I am pondering this evening after what for me was a very nice and romantic and fun weekend. Had some extremely pleasant dates, and with one of them, it was we were doing some of the orals. Okay, I'm getting a beej. She was grabbing my ass, and I didn't even have to ask. So this is already a winning move, as is. Love it when a lady wants to get a good handful of my badonkadonk. She's like pushing my ass in, so she's like almost skull fucking herself through my ass. It's good. It's great. We're happy. But then she's moving her hand underneath. She's cradling some balls, but then she goes under, and I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna get a finger here. This is great. What a surprise! A little bonus. That's what I call bonus content. But no, she doesn't. She's just like pressing up on the gooch. She's putting pressure up underneath that gooch. Which, maybe some light tickling could feel nice. I can get into that. But she's almost trying to finger that space, that taint between the balls and the butthole. I'm kind of like, lady, let's pick a side. Play with my balls or head on in there. So I don't know if this was a Cosmo tip gone wrong or like a tepid testing of the boundaries. Because maybe she's thinking, I don't know, can I finger his ass? I don't know if that's okay with him. I don't know if he wants that. I mean, I do host the Man Whore podcast. I feel like it's a fair assumption. And I want to ask. I just want to be like, oh, please. Like, I'm giving all the moaning hints that I can. And look, I know my number one piece of advice is usually to communicate. All right, but I didn't really want to ask. I mean, this is only our second time getting naked. It's only our third date. So I was like, maybe we hadn't fucked yet. So maybe asking for a finger in the hole, we can hold off on it. It's just a little frustrating because I felt so kind of teased with the concept. I don't know. So I don't know. What are your thoughts? How early is too early? Because I'm quite smitten with her. Would hate to scare her off. Okay, people, let's do this part. I like this part very much. It's a very fun part of the intro for me. You know it, you love it, or you hate it, but I know I dig it. It's the impersonal Patreon thank you roll call. Yes, this is the part of the show where I like to thank everyone who supports this podcast on Patreon. Patreon is an excellent way to support independent content creators like myself and many others, and I appreciate every single one of you who feels the need to pay for their content in some way, shape, or form. I think it's super important and it's so appreciated by me. It's through these pledges that we can do this podcast in the way that it should be done. You are creating a better space for open and honest conversations about sexuality. So why give to me? Because it shows everyone else that sex is an amazing topic that we should be talking about more. And because I'm awesome and you love me. I think that's a good enough reason as is, right? So I like to take this brief opportunity in the beginning of the show each week to thank everyone who has pledged their support on Patreon. So right now, thank you from the bottom of my heart to Christina D, SB, Sarah S, Lauren A, Madeline B, Dave K, Andrew R, Megs N, Sarah B, Alex S, our moderator on the Man Whore Podcast subreddit, Toby T, Chris W, Gregory Y, Sean B, Megan N, Lauren M, who thank you so much for your hangout and your tips and advice. Anna Super Slut, Prickly Peach, Nelly H, Jazz O, Julian H, Sean N, Mary G, Jeff C, Jennifer C, Alfredo A. or I should say Alfredo A, Mark G, Emily S, Mike G, and Max T, Anthony C, Tina Horn, Chris with a K, Ed B, Jeffrey J, Lawrence B, Dervla, Ramon F, Justin C, and Gingerbread Lance. Thank you all so very, very much for supporting Super Fun Sex Talks. And you too can support the Man Whore Podcast and receive a slew of great rewards. You can contribute as little as $1 per month, which when you think of it is just 25 cents per episode. And you know what? You can cancel or change your pledge at any time. To do so, you can just go to manwhorepod.com and click the Patreon banner on the side. Or you can download the nifty new Patreon app and you can find me on there. And while you're on manwhorepod.com, do sign up for the mailing list. That's how you find out about all the really cool brand new Man Whore news. Whether it's going to be any last minute bookings in Los Angeles or a fan meetup or my Periscope show, whatever it is, you're going to want to know about it. Get on that mailing list at manwhorepod.com. And look, if for some reason you cannot afford $1 per month, at minimum, at least, please review the Man Whore Podcast on iTunes. It takes only about a minute or so of your time, and it means the world to me. Not only is it great feedback, but you will be helping other people discover this podcast. Yes. What are other ways to help people find the show? Talk about me on social media. Talk about it on Facebook. Talk about it on Twitter. I got this tweet recently at the Billy Persida. Just found you through Tina Horn's podcast. Cool to hear from another sex-positive straight guy. Thank you at MJ Estrada 914. I'm happy I'm doing what I'm doing, and I'm happy that you found this show. And so let's keep making these things happen. Also, be a part of the conversation on the brand new Man Whore Podcast subreddit. You can go to r/Man Whore Podcast. You can comment about each individual episode. You can post discussion topics. You can post fan art. Kind of post whatever you want, so long as it kind of pertains to sex, man whores, the podcast, or yours truly. You can start an entire thread about how pretty my eyes are. I don't know. This week's guest on the podcast is Jared Freid. I have known Jared a long time. He is a very, very funny and talented stand-up comedian. Hosts an advice podcast called the J Train Podcast, hosted by TotalFratMove.com. Look, yeah, his point of view is one we don't really get to hear about often on this show because, look, I'm usually the straightest guy on this program, okay? So it's going to be a bit of a dude cast. He and I sit down and chit-chat about ladies hooking up, body image, because both of us feel fat from time to time. I've known this guy a long time. He's always seemed super confident, like the type of frat guy you wish you had the swag of. I'll be honest, this conversation actually kind of humanized him to me a bit. I always assumed he was kind of like rolling in pussy, but turns out he's a bit more of a sweetheart. It was really cool to hear. So I hope you all enjoy the conversation. I know I did. So why don't you sit back, relax, and take a ride on the J Train. You know what? I'm not proud of that either, okay? Let's talk to Jared Freid. I don't have the traditional, like, hey guys, what's going on? Like,
yeah.
We just kind of get into things, but
cool.
I'm happy you're here because I find you an interesting male specimen.
Okay. Specimen. This
yeah.
It just got scientific.
It's just like, I think dudes who call themselves like frat guys or man whore or whatever, we get looked at by people who read Jezebel and they think not good things.
Yeah, I mean, I think people, I've never gone up to someone and been like even people give you labels. I don't think I've ever really gone up to someone and been like, I'm a frat guy, what's up? Like even when I've done that and like got in front of that conversation, because I think people thinking about me, they get like offended that I would think that they think that. So it's like,
so now everyone's offended.
I guess. I don't know. I just like, that's just something that since doing comedy, people have said about me. I've never said that before doing comedy. Like my friends and I never got together and be like, this is just a bunch of, everyone thinks we're frat guys. Like we never even thought about it. It's just who we hung out with. So like, I think that's more something that people do when you go on stage. They need to put you in a box. They need to say, well, this is the frat guy that I knew from way back then. That's how I'll handle him as a performer on stage or on TV or whatever it is.
And what's that do to you? Because you're not the guy I think of who gave me shit in high school who like was in a frat. You know?
I don't think that. I think that person exists less than people want to believe. Like I think people want to believe that there's all these people that want to get them. Like sitcom, you watch on a TV show where this like a nerdy kid gets beat up by the bigger bully. That doesn't normally happen. I never watched that happen. I think what happens more is that the guy who's considered the bully just doesn't even know the nerd's name. And that's probably more upsetting to the nerd than anything else. Because I just never thought of that. I never thought of like a social hierarchy when I was in high school. I never thought of in college, I just was like, these are my buddies. Like I never cared about that. It seems like that's the job of the person looking up. And I've never really, I guess I've had the luxury of not thinking of that stuff.
Well, I think everyone looks at the frat guy and just assume like, well, that's the dude who gets laid by all the women, gets them drunk at parties.
And that's not the case. So that's the thing is I do my podcast. People write in for real advice, and they are in fraternities and sororities, and they have the same, social qualms as anyone. Everyone just wants to get by. Everyone wants to feel loved. Everyone wants to be able to be the man and go out and meet girls, and every girl wants to find a guy that wants to like them and be with them. So I think it doesn't matter who you are, you're looking for the same things.
Yeah. Well, and then people go to you to find out how to do that. So
I think. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say I should say now it's like so I'm here with Jared Freid, and you do, but you host a podcast as well, which I have enjoyed surprisingly. Because again, like you were telling me off mic, it was called Total Frat Move, and I thought, well, I wouldn't like that, and then you listen for 5 minutes, you're like, oh, he's not like a bad guy. No. But it's now relaunched as what's the new name?
It's the J Train podcast. It was called the TFM podcast, Total Frat Move podcast. Basically, we just take emails from guys and girls and give them advice. And it's every day. I kind of have been consider myself like the big brother to the younger audience or same aged audience as me, just giving perspective. And I don't know how it got to the point where this many people write in for advice, but now they ask questions about relationships and buddies and living situations and spring break. It's just questions that anyone would have. And we just kind of discuss them and have an open conversation with whoever the guest is on the show. And just show, I think the strength of the podcast is that it shows that it's okay to not be sure and that everyone has been there. And everyone has had a moment where they're like, oh God, what do I do when I'm in a bar and I meet this girl? How do I get that girl to come home with me? Or how do I get this guy to know if this guy's into me for a relationship? Everyone's had those issues. And I think why people like it is it's an open conversation. And, I think this goes back to the labels conversation, is that we all think everyone, especially today, Facebook's, Instagram, Twitter, everyone's putting up a bigger, like a much better, everyone's marketing themselves really well. Everyone's putting up this packaging online that makes it look like life is easy for them when we're all sitting at home being like, man, I wish it was easy for me. When the reality is we all look better online than we do have it in person. So this is kind of a unifying thing where it's, you're showing that other people have these same anxieties as you do.
But at the same time, I think comedians, we stay home and we market ourselves. But at the same time, we'll also put out like something about our gross food we just ate or our bald spot.
Yeah,
like we're the only ones who actively try to put ourselves down on social media.
Yeah, I think social. What our job is to do is to look at something that be ahead of the curve that everyone's doing and be honest about it and say, this is what we all think, but we're not saying. And that's I think that's a lot of comedy. Like that's what I like to do is like talk about things that, like, I like to be broad. I like to that the whole room's involved, but I like saying the things that we're all dealing with and kind of putting whatever spin on it and making it funny and being able to laugh together at it.
Yeah. I get a lot of advice questions from time to time about like sex and dating specifically.
Okay.
Do you find that most of the answers to the questions I get are simply just like communicate? Like, did you tell them? No. Yeah. Then go tell them. It's like
also like I think the best advice that was given on the podcast was Jimmy Fallon. You know him? Mm-hmm. Jimmy Fallon's funny ass comedian. He's great, and he's come on and he gave advice and he was like, "Be the captain." He's like, when you're on a plane, the captain comes on and says, "We're going to this place," we're going to be there at this time, and we're going to, we're going to land at this airport. The captain is never like, well, maybe this, maybe that. It's always, here's where we're going. Here's how long it's going to take. It's going to be a few bumps here and there, but we're going to be fine. And it's like, if you act that way, you will get whatever you want because you are being direct and honest. And maybe that person that you're talking to says no to that direction that you're giving, and that's totally fine. But at least you know right away, and they know what they're in for. They know they're in for a 4-hour flight where you're trying to fuck at the end. And so I think that's Jimmy had that advice on podcasts. I've never forgot it because it's a great lesson, because we spend so much time, especially for sex and relationships, and we spend so much time not asking or not being honest about the things we really want, and then going down a road that maybe isn't the road we wanted to go down. And now we're like, shit, I'm in a 2-year relationship that I thought was just going to be a hookup. And now I have to break someone's heart when it didn't have to go this way. When in reality, you could have said, hey, I'm just here, let's go out, have fun, do our thing. And then maybe I'll call tomorrow, but probably not.
And that's like any gendered advice. Like that's
Totally.
advice that anyone can take.
Yeah.
It's not a...
I mean, if you're a girl out there, a lot of girls, the question I get asked is, how do I make this a relationship? Why is this just a text and a hookup? And it's like, you know what you want. You want a relationship. That's what you have to ask for.
But don't you think there's
you
also...
might not get that.
Don't you think there's also something to be said to not look for a specific thing and let whatever come as it may? So, for example, if someone comes my way and like she's more appropriate just as a fuck buddy, like that would be inappropriate to try to turn that into a relationship. Let it be that. But it'd also be inappropriate to try to just bang someone who I would want a romantic relationship with. Like, do you think some people go out there like, I want this, and they get so tunnel vision that they miss out on like really awesome other opportunities?
Yeah, but I hear what you're saying. To me, some people, their number one priority is if a relationship is that high up on your list of things that you want, then that is your taste. You want someone who also wants that. That makes you have something in common, that you're looking to settle down in someone else's. If you're missing out on the person who's not looking to settle down, you just don't have enough in common. Like there's going to be other things wrong. You're missing people that you could fuck, but you're probably better off if those, if on their list a relationship is like number 20 and it's number 1 for you, you're probably not similar people that would get into a relationship. So yeah, you're missing out on the fuck, but that's not even what that person wants.
Okay,
right?
that's fair.
That would be my thinking on that. There's this thing. It's like, especially for guys, you want to be ready. You don't want to end up with the wrong person, and guys want variety. That's a lot of the fun. What gets us going. And, girls don't, want safety. They want, companionship a lot more than maybe I do right now. So, you got to come to terms with that. And I think now we live in a time where we're lucky, everyone's being honest about that. There's people out there, there's women out there that you can have that conversation and they'll be cool with it. And, that I think that we're coming closer to that like perfect moment.
Where like women don't have to just say, they're not pretending to want a relationship, or they're not pretending to be the laid back chick. They're genuinely, that's what they want, and they're saying what they want.
Yeah. I think there's a lot less
is.
judgment coming from women. I think most of the judgment comes from other women. I've said this.
Like Becky's a skank.
Yeah. Like if you sit up, like I noticed this a lot in college, that when girls I went to Penn State. When guys would visit Penn State from other colleges, they would hook up more than guys from Penn State.
Sure.
And I was like, why is this happening? Like, these not great looking dudes, they're not killing it. Like, I was just like, they're hooking up, like, and having crazy hookups. Like, and I was like, how is it happening for them? And what I realized is that it's because they're a ship that leaves the next day. If a girl hooks up on that ship, no one on this, that goes away, and then so does the judgment that goes with it that might come from her friends and her sorority sisters. And I think that's kind of what, that's a tough thing to deal with. I can't imagine if I came back to my fraternity and had to hide my head and people be like, you hooked up with her again? Why would you do that? Instead, when I come home, it's high fives all around.
Sure.
There's never any guy that's mad at me for hooking up with a girl that might be not in my best interest.
How'd you become such a captain of this?
Captain of
Yeah,
this. I
because
don't
you've
know.
been like this for as long as I've known you, which
Yeah.
is I think as long as I've been doing stand up. So it's just you've always kind of been this way, very sure of yourself, what seemed like confident.
I don't know. I don't know. I think about this stuff. So I'm just about giving perspective, and I'm willing to talk it out. Like I'm willing to be wrong. But I think about this stuff. I think kind of what you're saying before, like, comedians will be self-deprecating. I think it's hard for a lot of guys, like a guy, like an alpha guy, to say things that show their emotion a little bit. And I think I do that. I think that's something I do. I don't know.
Yeah. Do you consider yourself an alpha guy
I think,
other than the emotion stuff?
I guess so. I don't know. I think I guess so. I don't know. I've never, yeah, I would say, like, I'm a guy. I don't know. I guess because I see, doing comedy, you see a lot of guys that are like more standoffish, that are very,
Beta.
I guess I don't even want to use it. I feel bad. I don't mean that as a negative, but they're more introverted. And I've always been an extrovert, so I think it's more introvert extrovert than it is alpha beta. So I think when you're I just think when you're a guy who likes sports and likes going out with friends and likes ball busting, like, you don't find a lot of those guys that will also say, "Oh, I feel so fat today." So, and I'm willing to say that. So.
Right. Me as well. And then it brings down the party. They're like, dude, why you got to bring that up?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. I mean, like my friends and I, like, when we were in college, we kind of made fun of that whole alpha thing. Like, I remember we'd do these parties, and then, like, we'd all get hammered, and then all of a sudden everyone would start chanting the word chants. And then just making fun of the person who would chant. So we do, like, it would start as like beta, and then it would go into chants, and then it would be chicks, and then it would be...
Was this like an Animal House sequel?
Yeah, like, it was just a funny... And we knew the joke. That was the thing. Like, it wasn't like we were doing chanting... We're chanting the word chants. That's very much a sarcastic joke that we're doing. I mean, if you could look at that and be like, yeah, you guys don't even know how stupid you sound. We know how stupid we sound. I called myself J-Train in college. I know how dumb that
you still call yourself J-Train.
Yeah, it was it's still a joke.
A joke that stuck.
Yeah, to me it's funny. It's like it's an admission that what guys do is stupid. Calling people are like, I've had comics say to me, "Are you really J-Train on Twitter?" I'm like, yeah, it's a fucking joke. It's hilarious. It's stupid, and it's an admission that none of this matters, Like, and now people, like my friends from college, will be like, "Yo, Train," and I answer to that. Like, that's insane. That's so funny to me, and that's I think that's what makes all that guy stuff awesome. Is when guys get it. That's the thing people don't want to admit. They don't want to realize is that we get the joke as much as you do. So whenever someone sees you on stage, it's like, "Oh, this guy's the guys that people hate are just exist less than people want to believe. There's a 10% of every group that fucking sucks. I say this about, like, sports fans. I'm from Boston. There's this is what happens. People, the fan that you hate from Boston exists in New Jersey, exists in Long Island, exists in Queens, exists in Southern Florida, exists in Philly, exists in Arizona, and exists in LA. It's the same person being the same dickhead about a different team. Right. The Boston one is just more famous because they've been winning the last 10 years. The last 10 years has been an embarrassment of fortunes. Before that, it's provincial. Also, we didn't have the internet before, so you couldn't hear from those people. So if you think of the timeline of Boston championships with the rise of the internet, of course they're going to be the most famous version because we've been winning for the last 10 years.
Well, you guys also have like just an obnoxious accent.
Yeah, the accent too. Oh, the accent is because of women.
Oh.
Yeah, because women find the accent hot.
That's
on guys.
The Boston accent?
Yes.
I cannot imagine one woman getting wet to a Boston accent.
Listen, I'll tell you.
Nothing makes my dick smaller than hearing a woman be like, "Yeah, fuck me harder."
No, I didn't say I didn't say women. Women with it, disgusting. Men with it is an attractive thing. I've had many girls. You don't have the accent? I know, you know how many buddies of mine didn't have a Boston accent in high school and now all of a sudden have one? That men dress for women and they also put an accent on for women, okay? That's Goodwill Hunting comes out and now everyone all of a sudden is pocking the cock. Come on. No one in my town had a Boston accent. Everyone has now. Listen, follow the pussy. Yeah. That's how it goes.
So what's your dating situation? You're single. I'm single on a stage, which is just attracts all.
I don't know. I don't really get a lot of chicks after shows. I've never really.
Do you get chicks from the podcast? Because I get women from the podcast more than I've ever gotten from from like stand up.
I get a lot of. I get a lot of women who know way more about me than I would ever know about them. So when I meet them, it'll be a lot of girls that will be like, I know that you do this and I know this story and that story. I once, so I was in a book.
What?
I was in a book.
Okay.
And the PR person for the book from England.
What was the book?
It was, He Texted. It's called He Texted.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I saw you
Guide
tweeting about
to Dating, and you can find it. It was a long time ago. But they quoted me for like 2/3 of the book. And then the PR person from London came into town. They're like, she's into town. She wants to come see your show. I was like, oh, that's great. Came to the show. And then she goes, I got to admit something. I've listened to like a lot of the podcasts. And she like knew everything about me. Everything. Like we went out. She started telling me stories about me. And that was a little weird. And like nothing happened. You know,
right.
It was just like, it was almost like she knew me too well.
Yeah.
You know, like.
I mean, yeah, I've gone on Tinder dates where it's like, so I checked out the podcast. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah,
like, what did you hear? Which sex party story have you heard now?
Yeah.
Like, what do I have to
do that stuff? You go to sex parties?
Yeah.
Where do you go?
Last weekend, they were both in Brooklyn.
And how do you find these?
You know, when you put out the slutty beacon, people know back? They know that it's like it's a safe person to invite.
Let you into my home.
I didn't invite.
So wait a minute. It's hold on. How does this happen? How do you get into that community? Are they the most disgusting? Is there like anybody good looking?
Of course.
Really?
Yeah. The chick
I guess New York
I went
City
out with last night, it was plenty hot, and I met her at the party a couple months ago.
So what happens at these parties? How do you get in?
So every party is a little different.
Okay.
Because there's like sex clubs, right?
There are?
They're like seedy sex clubs.
Aren't you afraid of disease and all that stuff?
Well, I use condoms.
You say condoms. I use condoms and I'm still sweating the next day about them.
But I also, know how math works, so I go to sleep well at night. It's also a risk reward. It's like if I want to have
you want to play in you want to play in traffic, you gotta
right. I mean, like, look,
you figure you might get hit sometimes.
You can get something on girl number 1 or girl number 500. So
you go to the party.
Yeah.
What is it? Is it a bar?
So the one I go to normally is like a house. It's like a whole building. The guy owns the building. So
okay,
it's like three floors in a basement.
So one slutty landlord.
Yep.
Okay.
So one slutty landlord. And people.
Is he just wearing tracksuits all day, every day? Okay.
Unless that's the theme.
Okay. What kind of girls are they? They got to be out of their minds.
It's sexually adventurous or curious people who want to play with
doing this. Really?
Other people. Yeah, man. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If you're okay with seeing two dudes blow each other on the side in the corner, then have at it. There's a buffet of beautiful women to talk to.
Really?
Who are there explicitly to at least flirt or hook up, if not full on fuck. I mean, everyone's there for different reasons.
You have to pay to get in? Is there like a membership fee?
There's a ticket price, yeah.
How much is a ticket?
The one I go to is fairly cheap. It's $45.
$45, and no one's professional. Like it's not.
No. If you go to like a sex club, you might see like prostitutes.
That's what I'm wondering.
But I don't go to those because those are like for profit.
See, if I was a
couples
prostitute,
only heteronormative space, and the one I go to is like super queer. Like everyone's there. That's why I like it. It's a house party where people are fucking, and you're gonna see everybody. You're gonna see big. You're gonna see thin. You're gonna see black. You're gonna see white. You're gonna see.
See, if I was
gay,
a prostitute,
straight, whatever,
I would use the Costco method. So you go
Just like get a bedroom in at the party. And
yeah,
say-
and like you can try some, and then this is you know it's like when you get the taste
and
test,
then take my card.
take my card, and then you can buy some on the shelf. You know, you get a half a blowjob, and
Yeah.
and then you do that thing where at Costco you're like, I haven't tried this yet. Yeah, you've been over here 3 different times.
You've already had 3 samples.
I can't believe you do that.
Yeah, man.
I can't believe it exists, but I guess New York City, everything
exists everywhere. There's a play community kind of anywhere.
Play community. What?
Sure. I mean, you would call
The internet has fucked some people up, man.
Some would call it what I went to a play party.
Okay.
There are kink parties. Last Friday I went to a makeout party. So you can't fuck or do anything, but
It's
you can
only making out.
making out in really slutty outfits.
So you just what did you wear?
I was clothed, but look. It's like if I don't put effort in, I look like either a newbie or I look like.
See, this is what happens. Nerds have taken over all this bullshit,
So
and now we got
I'm gonna get
newbies.
plenty. Well, no.
What a noob!
What happens is so a guy who's new there,
Yeah.
they might be less like, maybe he doesn't know, maybe he doesn't understand how consent works in a party atmosphere. For me, if I look like I've been there a lot and I have, then I
Do you
seem
have
like
friends
I
from
seem
this?
like
Do you have friends from this community?
yeah. At this point now, yeah. So like I
Okay.
wore. I mean, it was Valentine's theme, so I found as much red shit, and I
Oh
wore.
my
I wore.
God.
This was cute. I wore a bag with Hershey Kisses in it, and it said, "Leave a kiss, take a kiss."
You're gonna be the weird parents on the block.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Key party parents.
I'm gonna have the sex educated kids. I'm
yeah,
cool with that.
you're gonna have the kids that'll be like, Mom and Dad do weird shit on weekends. We don't want to talk about.
but they're also gonna have lower rates of STIs and lower teen pregnancy rates. So I'm cool with that.
well-
No, the parties are good, and I like that everyone's there. I like that there's women I'm super not attracted to there. I like that.
Why?
Because there's also women I'm crazy attracted to there. And you
so
know what?
you like that there's like just variety. It's like you can try.
I like that it's
something every night.
accepting because I grew up a kid who was not accepted by I feel like an outcast because I grew up an outcast even though I
got
don't look like one.
Okay.
And so that everyone's there lets me know it's like a really accepting, loving world.
Okay.
I mean, other parties are different. I don't go to those parties. I go to this party.
It's interesting. I mean, it's nice. It's nice to know. I guess this is like the next level up from Tinder. Like, you know, you're swiping, but in a more like honest
Upfront.
and direct, upfront way.
Yeah. At one point,
understand
I was talking to this woman who's like 44. She's like a swinger from out of state, and she came with her husband. And like I was talking to her, we actually were both on the bathroom line. By the end of it, neither of us had to pee because we were like, "This is really fun." And we were talking, we were flirting, and at one point I said, like, you know, I don't know what your rules are with your husband for this party, but like, I'd really like to kiss you. And she's like, maybe later, but not right now. And I was like, cool.
Why was it later?
I don't know. That's, you know, maybe she had to consult, but we just kept talking. And eventually I left and I went and hooked up with my friend in the basement, you know? And it's a cool upfront world.
Are you having sex every time?
I actually don't fuck at them a lot, man.
Never.
I have, just it's not
It just
often.
doesn't happen often?
I normally fool around, do oral more than I'll fuck. Because it's less pressure.
Yeah.
Fucking takes a lot of like focus. There's
so
really loud
interesting.
music. Like it takes me out of it. You know? Like so you might get the advice of how can I have sex with this girl at this house party? And I get the questions of like how can I go to a sex party with my girlfriend? Like
Yeah, I get that. I mean,
or what's the etiquette?
how do you bring that up to your girlfriend?
What's the
biggest
etiquette?
start.
What's
Hey,
the-
I like you, but I like you in a want to share you with others type of way.
Well, you know, some are into that. Sometimes it's the woman who's bringing it up. Like, how do I ask my husband for an open relationship? Or,
Man.
you know, it just.
Yeah, I'm pretty vanilla. That's what
Yeah.
I keep learning. You you come to New York and you're like, you can find anything here, you know? So, you know, to each his own.
Yeah. But I do you sleep around a lot, or do you more try to date around?
I mean, I'm more of a dater than anything else.
Yeah?
I'm more of a let's go hang out and see what happens. And you know, I get in this position where you know that's the thing. It happens differently with everybody. Sometimes I'll have a girl meet one night, go home that night, have the best time. See you later.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times what will happen, I think more often than not, you have the girl that's like, you know, 1 date make out, 2 date, you know, get together, 3 date, you know, maybe something more happens, you know? So it's like, I get put into that track a lot. And sometimes it's my own fault. Like I'm not upfront enough. Like it's easier to give the advice than take the advice. So I think, I know the problem I have is I'm super aware. I think there's some guys that are just blissfully naive and like that's their strength. And I'm brutally aware of when I'm being a dick and when I'm not being a dick. And there's a point like, there's a girl I was recently hooking up with and I was like, she was fun. We had a good time. There's no reason to end it, but I was like, I don't want a relationship. I just don't want that right now. And, I kind of backed off the texting, kind of canceled some dates. And then I was like, hey, this has been fun, but I'm just not looking, I had to I couldn't just be in a position where I was just like fucking her because I knew I was fucking her over. Yeah. And I don't want to do that to somebody. Like I'd much rather have the situation where it either happens night one or it doesn't happen at all. Okay. And that's right now for me just because, with comedy and stuff like that. And people think the comedy excuse is bullshit, but like there is a point where it's like you are treating comedy better than the person that you should be treating well, and that feels badly for me. I don't mean to do that, but sometimes that happens.
I mean, comedy is the girlfriend,
Yeah, it's like that's been said so many times.
She gets more nights in a week than anyone else.
But that's the truth. And if comedy calls, I'm gonna ditch the chick. That's just what it is, and that is got to be annoying. I wouldn't want to date me. So.
I mean, but it can be. Is that ever hard for you to? I feel like a couple of times it's been hard for me to be responsible. Like, no, I gotta do the gig over the like. So there was an orgy one night, the same night as like a show in Jersey.
Yeah.
And it was paid, so like I was like, okay, I got to do it. But I kept trying to hustle him to get I was like, I got to get there by midnight or I don't get in. Can we get the show on time? I know it's an urban show, but let's try to do it on time here.
No, I always, it's never difficult for me to cancel the girl for comedy. It's always difficult for me to go with the girl over comedy.
Do you ever bring her to the show? Or
Sometimes I'm doing it less now. I don't like doing it. I can't really work on shit.
I feel like that's a later in the relationship type of thing for me to do.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, last night I was at Caroline's and this girl that I met online, who then became a Facebook friend, just showed up to the show, which is cool. But she made it the show. She tried to make the show about her. And I had
never. Was she like heckling or just by her
No,
presence?
I was hosting. So it's always tough when you're hosting and just to be like, I'm like going around the room. Where are you from? What do you do? How'd you get here? What do you do? And I go to where she's sitting and she's sitting. I didn't know it was her at first. There's a guy and a woman, and then there's two girls next to the guy and the woman. Okay, so it's a group of four, but I knew they weren't together. So I asked the couple. I was like, "Where are you guys coming from? How long you guys been together?" And they're like, "We met on Tinder." And I go, "Oh, cool."
We met on Tinder.
Then they said. So then the guy was like, "All four of us. I got all three on Tinder." I go, "Well, that's not true. No one here buys that. How did you really meet?" And then they kept going with the joke. And then the girl jumped in and was like, "He's a lucky guy." And I look over her. I go, "Where are you from?" She goes, "Newton, Mass." And I go, "Oh, we know each other." And I was like, why couldn't you just answer the fucking question? Like, why did you have to throw in this curveball? Like, I'm just talking to you like humans.
Please tell me you didn't want to like go out with her after that.
No, I didn't. Yeah. I really didn't even want anything to do with her after that. I was just annoyed because I was like, I'm up here, trying to get the room into shape. And I know no one understands that in the crowd. You're trying to get people ready to see a show as the host. You're trying to warm people up and make them feel a little uncomfortable, but then that will make them feel comfortable. And then to have her, then you have these girls come to shows and they don't know how to act because no one knows how to act at comedy shows. So, and I don't blame them for not knowing. It's just, that type of stuff. You want girls who are dating that to respect it. And I think sometimes people can walk into a show and it, we do a lot of shitty comedy shows and you could see, for us, we understand the deal. You do shitty shows to get through it. You want to work on material. Shitty shows happen. So if a girl sees you in that type of light, she won't ever respect it as your actual profession. Right. She'll be like, you do that in a bar. And it's like, yeah, I do that in a bar to get to not do it at a bar anymore. And that is the job. So I've had a lot of instances where girls would be like, well, you can cancel an open mic. And I'm like, no. I got to get on stage 3 times tonight. And then they'd be like, well, you're choosing that. They get mad that I'm choosing that over their relationship.
You're like, yeah.
And they don't see it as important as their job. But it is. It's as important to me. So that's the issue.
Very. Yeah, man. It's a weird thing when someone wants to come to the shows and like, let's hold off.
Yeah,
I mean, like someone I'm dating, people listening, come, please. But otherwise, you know.
No, I hear that. That's yeah, it's tough.
Yeah. This is the other thing that I like about you that
Okay.
I guess I've wanted to talk to you about for a while, because like we both have our own issues with body stuff.
Yeah.
And I think men are not supposed to talk, quote unquote, like supposed to talk about feeling fat or having issues with.
Well, all my buddies have
self-perception.
always wanted to go to the gym and look good.
Yeah.
I just know that. Every guy wants to look good. It's just that we're just not as famous about it. Girls want to look good so badly that they're actually insane about it. And guys are pretty normally crazy about it in most cases. Like, guys don't just go to the gym because they want to. They go to look good. It's vanity. You know, it's not, no one's at the gym for their heart. Everyone's there at the gym to look better and to feel good in clothing. And, you know,
I don't want to feel good in clothing. I want to feel good out of clothing.
Well,
that's
I want
what
to
I'm
feel
trying
good
to-
in clothing too, though. I hear what you're saying, but like you want to be, attractive. And like, now we live in a time where it's like, there's very little I can do as a man to attract a woman, that's outside of like success and looks, and, monetary success, confidence, and looks. Like, how do you, you can't go and
Really, you don't think personality in like 2016 has become a way bigger factor for women than it was 20 years ago?
personality is fine, but I hate to like just throw away personality. I agree, but personality goes into those things. Are you passionate about anything? That's a personality.
Yeah.
If you're passionate about something and you're passionate. Let's say you're passionate about comedy. You could be unsuccessful at comedy, but be passionate about doing it, and that's attractive, and that's part of your personality. I do think those things matter. Of course, personality matters, but I'm saying that as far as like from afar, if you're gonna look at a guy, like, do they carry themselves well, and are they fit, and are they doing well at the thing that they do the most? You don't want to be with, and I say this all the time, I get shit, but I'm like, you can't go out and be like the best hunter in your group, we all go, here's another thing, like cooking. You could be a great chef, and that has got to be so attractive to a woman. Like, like and all those things, but like, the nowadays you can't go out and be like, it's very tough to like be manly. So I think those like guys just want to, feel good, and confidence is from that stuff. So, and I also lost a lot of weight when I was a freshman in college. So
I was gonna say you were much heavier.
Yeah. So I look the way I look now, and people are like, "Oh, fucking dickhead." But like, I mean, I wouldn't give off that vibe before, like as a younger guy. So
How much weight did you lose?
like 50, and then like I hover, I go back and forth, and then it's. But that's something I think about every single day. I think about what I eat and how I eat, and what I'm going to drink, and every 3 hours, what can I put in my body to like try and not look, feel like shit. So, I understand when a girl's like worried about her body. Like guys have that issue too.
Yeah, but we don't talk about it as much, and
No.
I find that
It's weird that we don't talk about it as
Disappointing.
much. Like, but also like that goes into like the priorities thing, like we don't talk about it as much because we're not as worried about it, because we don't have to worry about it as much. Girls are so worried about it because in the world that we live in, they're put on, it's all about looks for them. And, there's so many things coming at them on a daily basis that
But I think that happens with guys too. Like
it does. It's just not as pronounced because guys.
I still have to look at the Abercrombie boy whore on a big fucking poster,
Totally. But then you see a big fat guy with $1 billion.
Yeah, but he has to be funny, or he had to invent something, and that's it.
But I'm just saying that guy, the lawyer, and with the hot wife, like there are other things men can do.
Okay.
That they can attract a hot, successful go-getter woman.
That's a good point. The How to Make a Murderer lawyer, everyone's in love with him. Right?
Oh, really? I've never seen the show, but like you watch ESPN and you look at Fox News.
Right.
Look at the women that are on Fox News. You think all those women were the most qualified?
Well, I also don't believe anything on that channel.
Well, even so, but they're the most gorgeous women in the world. It looks like a beauty pageant.
Yeah.
And you don't think there's not one conservative woman that's also a little bit, a little bit overweight.
Yeah.
I can't believe that there's not one. So, it's got to be much harder. It's harder.
Were you heavy in high school as well, or just like?
Yeah, all my life I've
Pretty
dealt
much.
with this. So
So do you think that informed like your outlook on like sex and dating as something you probably didn't get as much of until later in college?
Yeah, I was just always the person that girls would go to for advice.
Right.
So I was always like, I'm a guy that looks, I get always my whole life I'd have girls be like, what does he think when he does this? Or what does he think when I do? And I've just been giving honest perspective since since far back as I can remember. So I've always been in a position where I've heard girls' fears about guys. And I think that's why a lot of I get a lot of female listeners to the podcast that are like, oh yeah, that made sense for me. And it's nice to hear like an honesty, but also not make me feel bad about it.
Right.
And I think that's something that, you don't hear a lot.
Yeah, when you're just around chicks like for such a long time in those growing years, you understand how they work.
Yeah.
That's why I think I'm good at talking to women now because those are the only people who would talk to me until I was 18 or 19.
Mm-hmm. It's a weird thing. It's like you look back, you can't, you're getting reps on women's problems, but that's kind of how it works.
Yeah. I think there also comes like you get a respect for women in a different way. Like, some dudes that get overly protective about maybe like a baby sister. I think it's something along those lines because all my friends at least were all women and gay men that's just who I related to and I learned about their problems. So when I started to look better or feel more confident, I guess I was like just more aware of what I was saying and what I was doing.
Yeah. I also, yeah, totally. I mean, you're just aware of how the other side has it. And you see kind of just what makes them the most angry. You see what things annoy them the most. And it's like, not hearing back from a guy that then is so into them at another point, they're like, how is that happening? That happens all the time where girls like, he's always texting, but he never asked me out. It's like, that has been happening since the dawn of time. Like guys showing attention when they can get it. And then when they're done with the attention, they move on. So
when you lost the weight, did you find it a lot easy? Like, were you easily able to get with women and get with chicks in college at that point? Or?
Not really.
Like, when did you come into your captain own?
I don't know. I don't hook up with as many girls as you think. I don't know. I just, I think I never really gone into the swing of things. I don't know. When I don't know.
You seem very, I remember I met you probably when I was like 21, 22, and you were a guy on stage talking about his physical insecurities, like, right? And talking about women. And I was like, he seems really confident. That seems like a dude to like try to like. That's an example of confidence as a man person I should be.
Well, that's the other thing. Like I have a confidence where it's like I don't need to like get my shit off from getting with a girl. You're not
thirsty.
I'm not thirsty at all. Like I will go home if I strike out on a Saturday night. That is not the worst Saturday night of my life. I'll come back, I'll eat some food, and I'll watch some TV, and I'll pass out on the couch. That's a fine night to me. I'm not like a go out on the prowl type.
Yeah.
Like I'm more like I like that's why I like dating apps. Like
you go out on the roam instead.
Yeah, you go and roam, and you can go on dates, and you can like meet someone new. Like that's fun. And I also get in these like, I'm pretty much like I'll get in these like 10-month relationships. Like that's my game.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty good at the 10 months. 11
good
months
at 10
I'm
months?
not good at. So
What's happening at the end of the 10 months, man?
I get tired of it, and I'm just like, I want to be single now. But I will do a 10-month sprint with this girl, and then like the last probably five out of the last 6 girls have gotten engaged to the next guy they met, which is an insane
so you're
statistic.
a good stretching, a good prep.
I think I show them how good things can be, and they're like, I better hang on to the next one. If it's even close to that, I better hang on tight. I think that's what happens. I don't know. I'm a good Sunday couch hang, so
Yeah.
I think that's where I excel. I don't really excel in a bar. I can do the bar situation, like I can turn it up, but it's it's like being on
tiring.
stage. It's tiring, yeah. So I'm like,
Not a fan.
That's the thing. You go do stand up and do 3 shows. It's like I got to do a fucking 4th show for this one chick. Like that's not a fun night. So
I almost get like I want them to do the show for me at that point.
I know. Well, that's a tiring thing too. Getting a girl to try and impress me. I don't know. I go to, and then I'll also, my plan is, for whatever reason, I've gotten this thing where I go to these loud bars at like 3 a.m. I'm like, I'll see what happens here. And I just can't do it because I'm like, I can't keep up with the night that they already had. The hookup happens at the pregame. That's the best time to find a girl.
Okay.
So you see at 3 a.m., it's like, you're not going to find a girl at 3 a.m. You need to find the girl that you met at 7 p.m. To hook up at 3 a.m. And a lot of times I'm just like, fuck it. Let me see. I'll like fuck myself over by being like, I'm done texting with this girl. I'm going to go see if I can find some weird random thing at 3 a.m. It's like, no, you should have went with the girl you were texting at 7 p.m. So
text her at 7. She comes by at 11:30. You guys are out of the bar at midnight.
And it's a fun night. Yeah. That's all you need.
That's awesome, man. On the thirsty part,
sure.
I think a lot of dudes will be like, I want to get laid or whatever. Like, how can I have more sex? And I tell them, stop trying to have more sex.
Yeah.
Like, I genuinely think I get laid because I'm not out trying to get laid. I'm just being, not being thirsty. I think is so key.
The best advice is to stay on task. And I hear what you're saying.
Sure.
Don't try to have sex. Be okay with a no. I think that's more is my perspective on that. Is like, be cool with no's. And that's a confidence thing. Hey, want to come back to my, nah, I don't want to. Listen, no problem. I'm going to go home.
Right.
And it's okay that happened. At least you put it out there. At least you didn't stay in this vague world of, what are you doing? What am I doing? It's not confident. It's a confidence is like, at 2 a.m. being like, hey, I'm going to go home. You want to come? Are you in? And
are you in?
Yeah. It's like, she's either in or she's out. And maybe she's going to be like, you'll get the vibe from there. But my biggest issue, and this is going back to what I was just saying, and I have this happen to me a lot. Stay on task. The girl you're texting at 5 o'clock is in for 2 a.m. Don't get distracted by 11 p.m. girls. I'm serious. This happens to me all the time. I'll be texting with a girl all day, and then I'll go to the show, and I'll be like, oh, maybe I'm going to meet someone at the show. And then I'll be like, I'll go off the radar from 7 p.m. girl, and now I'm talking to 11 p.m. girl who just came to the show and is probably wanting to go home, and that's not going to happen.
Right.
So if you're looking to fuck, like this is about the fuck game.
Then by midnight, 7 p.m. girl found some other dude.
Or she's just like, fuck it, I'm going to bed.
Okay.
I'm not waiting around. This guy won't even have me out at 12. Why would I want to be with him at 2?
Mm-hmm.
So I think staying on task is the best way because girls just want to plan. Plans are hot. You come in with like, hey, I got this thing going on at 10 with my friends. We're going to be at this bar at 11. Come meet me and my friends at this bar at 11. Now you've, just the captain of the flight. Here's my night. You're more than invited to come and be a part of it. If you're out, let me hear a no.
Right.
It's this because right now, especially in New York City, this is New York City. You ever try and have Chinese food in New York City? There's 20 Chinese food places on every block. And then you pick one and you're like, ugh, I should have went to the other Chinese food place. That's the same thing with dating in New York City.
Yeah.
It's a million options, and options breed depression. And really the thing is, get rid of all the other options. Make it one option.
Mm-hmm.
That would be my advice.
Let's leave with this. What's one piece of advice that you give out a ton that you really still should be taking yourself that you don't?
Probably the last one I just gave.
The last one you just gave?
Yeah, I don't know. That's probably the crux of my problem. I don't know. What's a piece of, I don't really, no, I think what I just said. That's,
okay.
I got to stay on task more. I'm thinking about this right now. I mean, because I had a kind of a thing going on. I wasn't really out there, so I just ended that. So I'm kind of like back way out there instead of just like kind of out there. So I'd say stay on task because right now, like, I'm probably texting with like 3 girls, and then I'm on Bumble. And it's like,
right.
That's insane. What am I doing? I got shit to do.
I get off the app for a while, man, until one of the 3 drop out. And
here's the advice I give that I don't take, and I should take it.
Yeah.
Only download those apps on Thursday through Sunday. Thursday through Sundays. I'm serious about that because you want on those apps, if you're looking to hook up on those apps, you have to make it happen quick. You have to go, because everyone else just kind of like hovers.
Yeah.
If you make it quick and you zig while everyone else is zagging, girl, there's going to be someone that's in. What are you doing tonight?
Yeah.
Are you down to hang tonight? And then yes, no, maybe so.
All right.
You know?
Rocking, man. Well, Jared, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
What do you want to plug? You have the podcast, obviously.
Yeah, J-Train podcast comes out every Tuesday and Friday on iTunes, Stitcher, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm JTrain56 on Twitter, and that's it.
Rocking.
JTrainComedy.com. That's my website.
JTrainComedy.com. Jared, thanks again for coming on.
Thanks for
Appreciate
having
it.
me. This is fun.
Yeah, later. So go ahead and check out Jared on the internet. Go to jtraincomedy.com. You can find his podcast, the J-Train Podcast. You can find him on Twitter, his stand-up dates, etc., etc. Yeah, that's fun. We don't get to do the whole straight guy to straight guy talk very often. I almost felt like a man dude. Yeah, almost. If you're looking for advice, you know you can always email me, but hey, why don't you also email Jared? Email the both of us. See what types of conflicting or agreeable advice we give you. Because as always, you can hit me up, manwhorepod@gmail.com, especially if you live in the greater Los Angeles area and would be interested in meeting up for like a happy hour or something. And as usual, you can find me on Twitter @TheBillyPresida. Say hello, use the hashtag ManWhorePodcast. Let me know what you thought about the show. If you use the hashtag ManWhorePod, less likely I'm going to find it. And I do implore all of you, support open and honest conversations about sex by donating to the Man Whore Podcast on Patreon. You can do that by going to patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. That's patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. You know how to spell. Yeah. Very fun conversation. Hope you all enjoyed it. Next week, I sat down or I sit down. I don't know which tense to use, but next week, got a very gay episode. Very excited about it. I've got David Thorpe, the filmmaker behind the documentary, Do I Sound Gay? So why don't you go ahead and get a jump start and watch that on Netflix so you're prepared for the episode next week. Yeah? Sound like a good plan? Okay, cool. You go do that. I'm going to go do my thing. I'll see you next week. Stay slutty.